Teachers in England and Wales will go on strike tomorrow after last-minute talks with the Education Secretary failed. The Joint General Secretary of the National Education Union, Courtney, is with us now. Hello to you, Mr Courtney. Thanks for joining us on the programme. Just speaking to the Minister representing the government this morning, he says that your teachers are being irresponsible.
Well, he's completely wrong. The government is letting our children down. There is ongoing disruption every day in our schools. Since COVID, they appointed Kevin Collins as a recovery czar. He gave them a programme that we agreed with. It would have cost them £14 billion. They refused to do it. They cut it down to less than a third. We are hearing stories every day of special needs assistants leaving jobs in schools to work in supermarkets, leaving children without support. Every day of GCSE classes being taught by somebody who doesn't have a qualification, doing their best, but being taught by somebody who doesn't have a qualification in the subject of primary classes where there are successions of temporary teachers because they can't hold on to permanent teachers. There's disruption every day in our schools because the government isn't investing in our schools or the people who work in them.
How appropriate is it, though, that teachers are not sharing what their plans are with head teachers so that they can make plans for youngsters tomorrow?
Well, I think it's very appropriate. You know, if this was the pandemic, if it was another natural phenomenon, we would be doing everything we could to make sure schools were running as much as possible. But the point about tomorrow is that it's a strike. It's a strike because we're in dispute with the government. We're in dispute about that disruption that's happening every day in schools. We want our strike to be effective in order to concentrate the government's mind. We've done everything the law requires of us, and the laws in this country are extremely strict around trades unions. So head teachers know how many NEU members, at least they know how many NEU members there were when we notified them. The number has gone up quite a lot, actually, but we've given that information to heads. That's the information that's required of us. Actually, do you know, most head teachers are supporting that their unions are in the same position of being in dispute with the government about these questions, and they want the action to be successful. They want the pressure to be on government to change so that things get better for the children in our schools.
So what do you hope to achieve by not telling head teachers what you plan?
Well, as I've just said, we hope that we want our strike to be effective tomorrow in order to concentrate government's mind. We're in dispute. The next day of strike action is February the 28th. We're hoping to avoid that next day of strike action. We're hoping to avoid the next day of strike action after that on the 15th and 16th of March. We want the government to concentrate and come to the table and bring proposals that can help us resolve the dispute by helping us ensure we have enough teachers and special needs assistants and TAs in our schools so that education isn't disrupted every day the way it is at the moment.
I understand that, Mr Courtney, but I'm asking specifically, by not telling head teachers what the plan is, what do you think will happen tomorrow?
Well, head teachers should be planning on the basis that NEU members are on strike. And we've given them that information and they can plan on that basis.
But it could mean that some NEU members go in, some don't. Some kids might get to school and then be turned around and sent back again. What? I don't understand.
Well, I don't think that will be the case in very many situations. Lots of schools will have made a decision to close. Some will be keeping some classes open because some teachers will have told the head that they're going to be in school on that day. But the whole point of this is to put pressure on government to come to the table so we can stop the disruption in schools that's happening every day. We want our strike to be effective. It's not the same as a natural phenomenon where we would be like COVID, where we would be doing everything we could to make sure that schools were running as well as possible. We are in dispute. We are on strike. Our members are giving up their day's pay for a noble purpose, by the way, of trying to improve education by improving the funding and the pay of the people who work in our schools. But they're giving up their pay for a noble purpose. We want their sacrifice to be effective. We want government to feel that they have to talk to us so that there isn't another strike on February the 28th, March the 1st, March the 2nd, March the 15th and the 16th, the dates that we've identified. We want to avoid those strikes, and that means we want this strike to be as effective as possible.
Why did the talks fail yesterday?
Well, because because the minister brought no proposals whatsoever to the table. There are nothing whatsoever on pay this year or next year. No suggestion of a non-consolidated lump sum, no suggestion of a pay rise. On the other hand, we took to her a comprehensive set of data from bodies that aren't unions, pointing to the relative decline in teacher pay since 2010 as a real problem for recruitment and retention. We took a paper by Luke Sibieta for the IFS, suggesting that teacher pay has dropped while average pay in the economy has increased. We took a paper by Public First, a right-of-centre think tank, which says that teachers and social workers have suffered the worst during this period of wage suppression. We took a chart from the Sunday Times saying the same. We took information that we'd got, that we developed, that the Financial Times ran with, showing a sharp decline in teacher pay compared with the sort of averages in other professions since 2010. Those things really matter to teacher recruitment and retention. We took the report from the National Foundation for Education Research, which says the government's pay proposals will not solve the problem on teacher recruitment and retention.
OK, it's good to talk to you, Mr Courtney. Let's see if any last-ditch talks could fend off this strike tomorrow. Unlikely.